And welcome back to the Young Dad Podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and I totally just butchered that intro, but that's okay. Welcome into the Young Dad Podcast, whether you're outside grilling, mowing the lawn, changing dirty diapers, or maybe, just maybe, you got a moment to sit back and relax. Thanks for being here, and thanks for tuning in. And of course, as always, make sure you share this podcast with a friend that you love, that you know, that you maybe don't love, that a dad that you think he needs to do better. I'm going to send him this podcast. Make sure you do with all that. Today's guest is Robbie, a husband, father of four, concrete worker by day, and evangelist by night. So a little blue collar by day, and just shows up with some concrete on his jeans in the evening. So it all works out. He's volunteered in youth and children's ministries for over 15 years. Written six children's books, which is quite impressive. I've written one, and have the second one lost in my computer document somewhere. So impressive nonetheless. And was even appointed a missionary for a time. Robbie's life journey has been anything but ordinary. Rising from homelessness to home ownership, working across industries from construction to sanitation, and bringing faith into classrooms and communities. So he's here to talk about fatherhood, faith, resilience, and how he's building a strong foundation, no pun intended with the concrete work, in every area of life. So make sure you grab your juice box, grab a snack, and let's jump into the conversation. Robbie, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for
Of
having me, Jay. I'm appreciate it.
course. I make jokes sometimes. So the foundation one, that one isn't even planned. It was just concrete and foundation, and it works out, right? I'm sure there's a lot of parallels you draw there with talking to kids and spreading the word and whatnot. There's a lot of parallels you could draw with the concrete and what you do for work.
Yeah, well, what I found out is you got to build a strong foundation, otherwise your house falls over, right? And that's with all aspects of life, even with being a dad. And you want to be able to be a good father, so you build up that good foundation with your kids as early as possible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And but stronger the foundation, better the life and better the outcomes in the end. Hopefully, weak foundations. I don't know if you've seen that video of those houses during Helene that were like on the beach and they were just held up by like wooden planks essentially. There's no actual concrete foundation because they're in the sand. So then when the waves come in, they're washed away,
Yeah.
and they
Ooh,
just
wow.
collapse into the ocean. So it's very, very symbolic nonetheless. But no, 100%. Have to build a strong foundation with our kids, but we'll jump into that. We'll save that for a little bit here. Uh, Robbie, you shared with me and in your profile that I read about you and stuff like that, that your family faced homelessness but came through stronger. That's an incredibly powerful journey. Can you kind of take us back through kind of going from homelessness to home ownership and what that those challenges were like and how you turn that ship around?
Yeah, so the biggest thing was the mental battle throughout the whole situation. So what happened was I was a building manager, and I was a live-in caretaker. And so what happened was the company did a company switch, and with that I lost my job and my home. And the new company was like, we don't want to hire you, and the old company was like, we don't have any more work for you, unfortunately, because so we'll have to let you go. And that was a big dilemma with that. Luckily, we had people where we were like couch surfing for about like 4 months, trying to get my feet established, and I had to make a decision. Am I going to continue on with the career path that I was, or am I going to change it? And so I decided to change it because my mindset now was I don't want to be in a position where if I lose my job and then I'll also lose my home. Well, if I switch careers, then at least if I lose my home, I'll still have my job. And if I lose my job, then I'll still have my home. And that's where I ended up getting into concrete eventually. But before I got into the concrete, I just had to do anything. So I think I had like a couple months where we were just living off savings. And now that we didn't have to pay rent, that it was a little easier to with our savings. After that period of time, I decided to go back to a class, get my trucking license so I could start working truck. And then I just got whatever job that I could. And the first job that I got was sanitation, cleaning porta potties. And
Right.
that one was a really big mental battle. The
So
first
for
week that you're,
lack of a better term here, you've seen some shit.
yes, I've
Sorry.
seen a lot of it. Don't get
I
me
wanna
going. I got stories
I
on
wanna
that
like
one.
wanna let you keep going, but I'm like, if I don't say this now, I'm gonna regret it. I'm gonna regret not bringing it up in the moment, so I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead. That was a good one. Yeah, no, I seen a lot of shit. The first week was probably the worst. You go like, where has my life become? What is this all about? And after the first week, you're like, you know what? The job's easy. As soon as you get past the mental battle that you're dealing with other people's feces, it's it's actually not that bad of a job. It's physically not demanding, and you got paid pretty well for it.
Yeah, because all you're doing is just taking the hose off the truck and then sticking the hose in there and flipping a switch essentially, right?
Yeah, you just open up the suck it, drain it out, and you also clean them. And I made sure that
Oh, okay.
I did a really good job cleaning all of my toilets. Where I actually had people coming from other sites using my toilets because they were so clean, and I
Nice.
had different job sites actually ended up fighting over me.
Hey, a good porta potty can make all the difference. If you're at like an event or because how many times do we as just and this is like on topic, but kind of off topic here too. But like, you go into like a gas station or something, and you go and use the bathroom, and then the bathroom's like disgusting, and you're just like, "This gas station's awful. I'm never coming here again." Or you go into like a Maverick or something, or a Bucky's or something, a higher end gas station, right? That's a little bit known, better branding, better everything, right? And you're like, "Huh, this is nice," and then it changes the whole outlook on the whole store. You're like, "Huh, it's
Oh
clean.
yeah,
Bathrooms are clean. Like, okay." Wow, wow, everything's so oh man, those drinks look good. The wrappers on the shelf look shinier, and the drinks in the
yeah,
cooler look more thirst quenching all of a sudden. Like, but if there's a gross bathroom, it's gonna ruin all that. It's gonna be like, I want to get out of here. I don't want to buy or touch nothing in this store. Like, get me out. And it's the same for a porta potty, right? Like, if you go to an event, you're really excited about it, but then you go into a porta potty and it's just like absolutely disgusting. It's like, where did they get these? Like, they couldn't have spent a little bit more to get like nicer porta potties, or maybe spent some more money to clean them or something. Like, it takes away a lot from like the event and what you're doing. So clean
yeah.
bathrooms are
Well, they could get for events. They could get like a really expensive. Like I know my boss. I think there was like an event that he did for like a 3-day weekend, and I think he made close to like $1 million for it. It was like a lot. Yeah, and I never actually been to one, but I heard stories where the guys were actually treated very well, where they got paid like a lot of overtime. They got to enjoy the festival while they were there. All the food and everything was all paid for that whole week. So
dang.
it's nice to have someone who treats you well. But yeah, that was probably the biggest hurdle was trying to not feel like my own product that I was dealing with. The when you get the first time that you have a splashback, oh, it's like the worst.
Can't. Oh, I don't want to mention that. That's
No, it's gross, and it never gets any better when that happens.
no, no, I can't imagine. You're working in sanitation, and do you have kids already at this time, or no kids yet, or kind of what was
Yeah,
your family
so
life?
during the whole homeless time, I had two kids with me and a wife. And during the sanitation, my wife got pregnant with our third.
So what was
And I
going through your
was,
mind then? Like, you're working sanitation, you're like, job's not bad, but this is just awful. I have another kid on the way. Like, was there something there too, or
the thing was, the job paid very well. So that's one of like the benefits about it. Like whenever you look at it, it wasn't like a lot of money per hour, but you did so many hours and then you got paid time and a half after 8 and then double time after 12, and then they we had to work holidays as well, and that's like almost all double time that
oh,
year.
okay.
So a lot of the guys, they were for a whole year they're probably making close to like 100,000 a year.
That
Yeah,
pays. Hey, that'll
yeah.
work. That'll work. That'll get you going.
So
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 during
that was
sanitation, were you guys able to get your own place and
yeah. So what happened with sanitation was we ended up getting an apartment before I actually got the job as a sanitation. I was actually quite surprised that someone would actually like rent their place to us. If
yeah.
I when I was doing building management, if I had someone who was in the same situation as I was, I would have said no. And I'm like, I'm sorry, like I'd love to help, but unfortunately, like I can't. Like this is a business that needs to make money, and we can't do that for you. And But we had someone who decided to take a leap of faith on us, and that was a huge upside. And
Absolutely.
so we lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath basement suite for about 3 years with 3 kids.
Wow.
Yeah,
I got everyone got real cozy in there.
everyone got real cozy. We all had everybody was sleeping in one room, and then the other room was like the play place and the office space.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was kind of like our way to kind of get away, where it's like, okay, kids, go into this room and play, and we all need to sleep, so we'll just sleep in the same room. Like, it's fine. And plus, they're young, and I think my oldest was 4 and 5 at the time. Yeah. And so after that, I ended up getting into concrete because concrete pays better than sanitation. And that's kind of where the journey went. And then we moved from the city to the suburbs because the houses were just a lot more affordable. And we were able to get a house that it's like 3-bedroom house with 3 bathrooms and it's 4 levels. And now
Beautiful.
we have a 4th child, which is, it's just amazing to go through that process of going from like nothing, but just working like your hardest. And not only working your hardest, but whatever job that I was at, I had the mindset that I wanted to do the best that I could do. Didn't matter
Absolutely.
that I was making the money. I wanted to just bring my own value up for my own mental health.
Hmm. Yeah, you got to find your purpose where you are, right? Like you got to get in where you fit in, right? And you got to make the best of your circumstances, no matter how shitty they are. Sorry, it just works so well, no matter how crappy they are. Um, you got to make the best of it. But through all this, how did you and your family like stay together during this time? Like, what did you do to keep your faith in your family together during this like time where it's like, well, we really don't know what's next. We have no clue when I'm gonna get it. We have no clue when dad's gonna get a job. We have no clue how long we're gonna be in this basement unit for. We have no clue how long we can actually afford this. Like, how did you guys stay like keep your faith and keep the family together during that time?
Just strong foundations that my wife and I both had, and we never once did I think she was going to leave me, and she never said that it was never a temptation for her to leave me. She decided to stick it out with the 2 kids, and it was just the foundation that we built beforehand. I think we were 7 years into our marriage when it happened. Yeah, about that. Yeah, 5 years into our marriage when we had our first, and then we just kept on having kids. And I think this next couple months we'll be on our 14-year anniversary. Yeah.
Congratulations. So through these like financial like times, like these tough financial times, like how did you personally keep it together? Because being dads, we're over here, we're thinking of that stuff constantly, constantly. That was on the back of your mind every day when you're just sitting at home. I'm sure like another day goes by, another job, no job, nothing. Like, how did you keep it together, like mentally through those like tough financial times? Because that can be really, really draining.
Yeah. So the very first thing, I don't know like why I did it, but like I just needed to have like a win in my life. So we lost our job. Well, I lost the appointment becoming a missionary. We're trying to do that. We got let go of that because we couldn't raise funds. Then I lost my job in my home a couple months after that, and we're living with my mother-in-law, and we had like this fence off area that was kind of like the outside for us and our kids. And we had a little 1-bedroom that we were staying in, but it was like 400 square feet for the whole place. It was
Dang.
like super tight. And the only thing that I wanted at that moment was like, I have this thing where I like to have my feet touch nice, fresh grass. And we had this little patch, and I'm like, this little patch is mine. I'm going to take care of this lawn and water it every day just because I just want to have that feeling of stepping out. And with that, I was able to do it. And there was this little green patch on the whole yard that they had where everything else was yellow. But my little patch was nice and green. And I was able to do that. And it's just these little consistent wins that you have to do to kind of win these mental battles. And it helps remind yourself, hey, look, I can do this. I can overcome this. You do things like, okay, I'm gonna brush my teeth every day. I'm going to brush my teeth twice a day. I'm going to, I'm going to start flossing, and I'm going to start using mouthwash. Like, just these little steps. I'm going to start making my bed. I'm going to start taking my plate after I eat to the sink. Like, just these little wins that you consciously say, okay, I'm going to do this. And as you do these little wins, you'll get these more and more bigger wins, because you're essentially, you can trust yourself with them now.
Mhm.
And then as you have these big wins, you're like, okay, I'm going to do my best. And a part of the sanitation thing, where what I would do is I would do the best job that I can for all the toilets. And my toilets were the cleanest out of everybody at the company, because like I needed these little wins in my life to validate essentially myself and strengthen myself, and then basically say like, hey, look, I've done this in the past. I am trustworthy. I can continue to do this.
Yeah. No, that's resilience, right? That's like creating your own resilience through all of it all and stacking those small wins. That's something I actually used to write about. I have this series up on YouTube. Anyone can find, anyone that's listening here, is called the Well Balanced Dad Diet. I wrote it, oh gosh, many years ago now. It feels like I don't even remember how long ago that was. I'm gonna look it up and while I talk about it. But the Well Balanced Dad Diet essentially is like this 12, is it 12 step, 12 part, like 12-part series that I thought was like the biggest thing since sliced bread. I wrote about it. I've since like changed websites, so I actually don't have those blogs anymore. At least not published anymore on the internet. Um, Basically, one of my biggest parts of that was like small steps, right? Taking small steps, small wins was the name of the game, and I focused on mind, body, and spirit, right? All three elements there, because all three of those elements are key. Of course, you have your mind, body, spirit. You got to take care of all three. You got to nurture all three of those things every single day. But the small wins was something too, and starting small was also something that I was really big on. Like starting really small, like starting freaking microscopic. Like if you, and one example I think I put in there is if you're like trying to start a new diet regime, whatever, you start that and you start it by, you're not going to go to the gym and work out for 2 hours, right? Day
No.
one. That's not sustainable, right? That's super unsustainable. That's not going to work out very well for anybody. So instead, you start with going on a 5-minute walk. That's it. 5 minutes, get outside, walk around. That's it. Take your kids, don't take your kids. Doesn't matter to me. Just go and do something very, very, very small. But yeah, I did the Well Balanced Dad Diet back in April of 2023. Was when I recorded all these videos and stuff. It looks like those are all short. And I actually did a presentation on this in December of 2023 too, at a conference as well. But that's neither here nor there. Looks like I only recorded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Maybe it was 10 steps. I don't remember. I don't think I finished it. That's the thing. I don't think I finished it. Or maybe I did. I really don't remember. But anyways, uh, small steps was the second part of that. Was to just start small and just take small steps. Stack those wins, stack those wins, stack those wins, stack those wins, stack, 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 stack. And then eventually that turns into you being able to reset your expectation, setting those realistic expectations. And then learning how to communicate with yourself, with others, and things like that. And then working into how you view yourself, right? It's all about how you view you as well. And then you build up that self confidence, kind of like you're saying here, right? It all adds up into your view of how you view you. And then you can turn that into a long term mindset. And then once you stack those wins, you can eliminate excuses. And then all along the way, you're stacking your wins, right? These are like the order I
Oh
put
yeah,
them in. I don't remember why I did it. And
that's
then
really good.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just reminded, like, when you're talking about like the 2 hour workout, I just bought some like weighted swords recently, because I'm like, oh, these are so cool, and they're super manly because they're swords. And so I'm like, okay, I got these swords. I'm gonna try it out. I put the video on, and I get through like 5 minutes, and then I'm just like, okay, I gotta stop. This is too hard for me. And then I look in the bottom right corner, and it says warm up. I'm like,
Oh, dude,
right?
I feel you on that. I feel you. I just started working with my buddy Max. So this was recorded in March of 2025. This is going to come out probably in June of 2025 or maybe July. I'm not sure, somewhere around there. I don't have everything scheduled and processed yet that I've done recently, so but it's coming out later. but I just started on Monday this week. I just started a 2-week challenge with him because I'm like, I need to do something, right? Because something's not working. Like I'm in pain, I hurt, I'm tired, I feel fat, I feel gross. Like I know I'm heavier, but I don't know how much heavier. I don't want to know how much heavier I am, and things like that. I'm like, and I just messaged him. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna message him because I know him. He's a really good dude. I know he's authentic. I know his. I've seen the results of his program. Let's just message him, see what happens. So lo and behold, it all worked out. He's like, I'm starting a 2-week challenge. Do you want to join in? I'm like, absolutely, count me in. Started on Monday, and oh my goodness, the warm up of that first workout was just like a light stretch. It was great. I was like, oh, this feels good. A little stretch. Yeah, feeling good. And then it's like this whole dumbbell workout, and I'm like, whew, whew, gas. And then the next day, it was like a mobility workout plus like make sure you hit 7,000 steps. I was like, how am I gonna hit 7,000 steps? Like I work in an office job. Like I'm gonna have to do some extra walking around here. And then today was like an even longer workout. I was just like, holy crap. I put a comment in like halfway through the workout. I'm like, this workout is a workout. And I wasn't even done. And but it's like it's been building, right? The last like 3 days have built up to this. To where it's like, okay,
Absolutely.
today we're gonna kind of start small, start with like 10 reps, a couple sets of each kind of thing. Use dumbbells, go at your own pace, slow and controlled. Like there's no rush on this, right? And then, okay, take a day, relax, rest, recover, stretch, get some mobility work in. Great. Today, we're going to amp it up. We're going to take it to that next step. Instead of doing one block of workouts, now we got 2 blocks of workout. We got a warm up, 2 blocks of workout, plus a cool down stretch kind of thing. So we're building. You got to build on that stuff, right? That's how you create essentially that foundation and you create those good habits long term.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And now that I do the swords, like I'm able to complete the whole series now, and it's only been like a few weeks, so that's a win in of itself.
Nice. Do you feel stronger like in the hands and stuff and with doing them and
The craziest thing is that like my shoulders just feel absolutely great. Like
yeah.
my shoulders haven't felt this good in like a long time. Like I'm fatigued and everything, but like I could just have the mobility to because you're swinging them around and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So mostly a shoulder workout.
Nice. I bet that
But
is so fun at the same time to just swing swords around and like have some fun doing it. I'm sure there is there
oh
a
yeah,
purpose behind the swords or
yeah, they're actually not combat ready, but they're like that like training ready. So you could actually like smack them against each other, and you could have a partner, and you can actually do these moves to like practice with them, and they just have different adjustable weights that you can change. So I'm like on the halfway for the weights, but I haven't found a partner yet because no one wants to do
not a
with me.
lot of people
My
have
kids are too
swords.
small.
Yeah, you don't want to put a sword in a small child's hands. Assuming children are no more than like 10, 12 years old or something.
Yeah, my oldest is going to be 8 soon.
Oh dang, okay. I was off. I was off. Okay, so this all happened fairly recently then. This has all been in the last 3 years. This kind of process, the homelessness and getting back through it all, like the
Yeah,
sanitation, everything has all been in the last few years.
near the end of it. So like the my boy was 2 when I got homeless, and my
Okay.
second was like 6 months.
Okay, so it's
So
been about
about that
6
time.
years since everything and getting okay. But it is fairly recent, and plus you went through all that during COVID too, which I'm sure didn't make things any easier.
All this stuff happened before COVID,
Okay.
and when I got the sanitation job was like literally like in March 2020 when all the lockdowns came in. And I'm just like, I just got this job and I'm going to lose it. Like, what's going to happen? But it was actually a blessing in disguise because people were more worried and wanted cleaner toilets, anyways. So there's actually more service that was going along.
Makes sense. I mean, because you could still, go outside during the day and you can still do things in like public areas and things like that. So it makes sense. I mean, I'm not sure where you're at geographically in the States, but I'm in Washington, so that probably didn't really happen up here. Uh,
I'm actually in Canada. So,
okay, so you're not far. Uh,
no, yeah, I was in BC, in Vancouver
so yeah,
at first.
Pacific Northwest technically ish. Wannabe, want Pacific Northwest. I get it. You guys want to be like us, and it's fine. We respect it.
I don't know. With your who you have now, it probably be soon that we will be like you guys.
True, but I mean, you guys still have You guys still have Trudeau, so I mean, for now.
Yeah, for now. I think his election's up this year anyway, so
He is, yeah. I think he's out of office in the summertime, I think.
I don't know. It's he's trying to delay it as much as possible, is all I know.
Of course. He should have been out a long time ago, I'm sure. But no, we're all, yeah. The world landscape is kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. But we can rest assured in our faith, right? All along that everything's going to work out for our individual people. I don't pay attention. I pay attention to a lot of federal stuff and like national things, but I actually have this other podcast I started recently focusing primarily on Washington State, called the Evergreen Report, where I go through like bills, House bills, Senate bills, and like headlines, local things. Because I actually heard this on Rogan. I'm not sure who he was talking to, but he was talking to him, and the dude was saying like every community should have some kind of podcast everywhere, right? Every community
Mm,
should have some kind of podcast where they talk about the news, the headline, what went on the day before, kind of like news, but like podcast form, where they break down what's happening in their state, where they break down what's happening in their local school board, where they break down what's happening with their local commissioners, and all those things, right? That's what like the premise was like. Every community should have that. And then I heard that I'm like, man, I can't unhear that now because I was already doing another like extra podcast called Patriarchy Principles, which I may have messaged you about. You may have seen that on the booking form. I got to update that, but where I was talking about like faith and family and it had like a platform from it. And then I'm like, you know what? I want to redo this again. Like I just redid this in October. It's February. I'm going to redo it again. So I abruptly like stopped recording Patriarchy Principles episodes. I'm like, I'm just going to put them all under Young Dad Podcast. It's all the same. It's all fine. I'm gonna stop doing that one. I'm gonna start this Evergreen Report. I'm gonna break down like bills and everything. No clue what I'm doing. But I have a pretty good like good common sense, I think, and I can break down these things and understand them and explain them fairly plainly and fairly simply. So I started Evergreen Report with that intention to kind of bring like that awareness to like the average person on, hey,
mm.
yes, there's all this stuff going on federally and whatnot. Very little of that's going to affect you at the end of the day. What is going to affect you is stuff going on in your state every single day. The bills that are being passed, the rights they're trying to take away, the taxes, everything like that. That's going to affect you way more than anything that Trump does in the White House. More than likely, there's very little that he does in the White House that will actually affect you in your day to day. Very little, maybe like 10%, 20%, 80% of it's not going to affect you. Very little impact on your day to day life. 80% of stuff that's going on in your state will have an impact on you versus a 20% that really doesn't. So, whole premise
Yeah,
there.
no, that's really good that you're starting that. That's a really great concept. I actually had this poem that I heard about when I was younger, and I like to reverse the poem. But so I'll tell you what the poem was. It's like when I was young, I wanted to change the world, and as I got into my teens, I wanted to change my country, and then as I got into my adult years, I wanted to change my community, and when I got into my old years, now I realize I can't even change myself. And so I like to reverse that poem and say, you know what? Focus on yourself first. Change yourself first. Work on yourself. And then you go out there, impact your community. And while you impact your community, then you can go and impact your country. And when you impact your country, you, of course, could go after the world. And so that's a great thing that you are doing. You're working on yourself, and now you're wanting to start a podcast to help the community that you're already in, because that's so important. And with that, you could just keep on growing and going further and further.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's like I talked to my coworkers about some of this stuff. I'm like, did you know that they're trying to pass a bill right now to put GPS trackers on all our cars to track how many miles we drive per year and then tax us per mile that we drive, and then on top of that, tax that they're already taxing us on just driving our cars that we already pay taxes on, that we already pay a gas tax on, that we already do this. And they're like, well, it'll replace the gas tax. I'm like, it's not going to replace the gas tax. The gas tax isn't going to go anywhere. I guarantee it. And now there's a whole thing that there's just so many things that are just wrong. And I'm just like, the average person I talk to at work doesn't know about these things because
No,
the
not at all.
news
They're too
cycle moves so fast.
Yeah, and they're too focused on like I say, changing the world when really
Mhm,
they need to focus on themselves and their community.
mhm.
Even us, like we found out where in our community they're trying to start the 15-minute cities, where you can't drive more than 15 minutes out of your area. And I don't know how far it went now. I think it's kind of going, they're keeping quiet about it, but like,
Yeah. Those
yeah,
are
it's kind of scary what they're trying to do out there.
those are such a crazy concept, the 15-minute cities, because it's like we learned, didn't we not learn from COVID that isolation and isolating people into one confined area is bad? Like, yes,
Well,
like convenience and everything, but then you're just stacking people on top of each other, like in these super mega high rise buildings, and it's gonna be crowded, it's gonna be overpopulated. Like, you're not gonna have enough doctors or resources, things like that. People are gonna have to drive outside of that 15-minute city to get the services they actually need. You're not gonna be able to get every medical specialist. You're not gonna be able to get every behavioral mental health specialist that you need. You're not gonna be able to get everything into that 15-minute city. And not enough people, I think, are gonna want to live in a 15-minute city.
no, not at all. And if you look at like I don't know if I want to say exactly where, but there were some cases that while COVID was happening, there would be these huge buildings that in certain countries they would actually just put like a plywood on the door, and there's like 400 units, so like 400 homes is being stuck with a piece of plywood. And so they want people to come into these cities and not to live on the suburban because it's hard to go to each individual house trying to get people,
Hmm.
and it's all about control at the end of the day.
Yeah, you can definitely say where the city is. I don't think I have that big of a reach to where it's gonna make that big of a impact. I don't think Trudeau's gonna come after you.
Yeah, no, it's Wuhan, China is where they started
Okay.
to actually block during the COVID thing, and they actually started to barricade the doors, and people were dying. It's just that easy as a piece of plywood to stop 400.
Right? And it's like, do you want that? Like, why do people want this? It's like if you guys all try to create an uprising, then guess what? You're locked in, shut out, you're done, die.
Yeah,
They don't
well,
care. The government doesn't
ultimately,
care.
no, ultimately, it's a thing of fear where people want to feel safe and secure. So they're willing to sacrifice freedom for security. But what they don't realize is that you're going to end up losing both.
Yeah, no, you lose both. And then just imagine like if a bad actor comes in, like we had that issue here in Colorado in the States with the gang, the Venezuelan gang, Trinidad came in and they were taking over apartment complexes. All it takes is one person coming in saying, "Guess what? I locked these doors behind me. No one's getting out, and I have 10,000 bullets with me right now. Guess what? We're all done. No one can get in or out,"
Absolutely.
kind of thing. And people don't, like you said, people don't realize like we're trading convenience. Like we're taking the convenience. Yes, would it be convenient to have 15 minutes to drive everywhere? Sure. In reality, you get everyone there. It's going to be congested. It's going to be busy. It's going to be packed. The commutes and
Yeah.
everything. So
Yeah, no, I grew up in the city, and I just learned that now out of the city for about 3 years, I'm not a big fan of it at all.
yeah, no. No, I too grew up in Seattle. I grew up in South Seattle and then North Seattle. And I just remember like South Seattle was great because we're still pretty close to Seattle to where it didn't take too long to get there on the bus. But now when I go and visit and I go to northern Seattle, like Bothell, Everett kind of area, and I'm there and I just think, okay, I have to drive 10 miles is going to take me about 30 minutes, which is absolutely bonkers. And then I'm gonna have to get on a train just to go see a Mariners game if I want to go see a baseball game, right? Like this is such a process. Like I have to plan an extra like hour of travel in to where
Oh,
here,
absolutely.
where I live in Washington on the eastern side of the state, I can go see a minor league baseball game. I drive 10 minutes and I'm there. Bada bing. I park. I'm in. It's done, right?
Yeah.
Like I will trade that any day of the week versus having to drive hours and hours to go see like the major leagues and stuff like that. Like I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. And it's like give me the community to where I only have to drive 10, 15 minutes to get to literally everywhere around me. Like I live in a
Hmm.
15-minute city right now to where it's like 15, 20 minutes you can literally get to all the surrounding areas, get to pretty much everything you need within 15, 20 minutes. Like, I think the Tri-Cities here in Washington is like the perfect example of a 15-minute city to where there's 3 cities, they're all connected somehow, and you can go from one city to the next on the freeway or back roads or anything like that. Granted, we have a big old river kind of thing and a couple bridges, but other than that, like it's all pretty connected. You literally it seems like everywhere I go, like I drive a lot for work. I'm like I put it into my GPS, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, 17 minutes, 20 minutes, everywhere, no matter from where I start to where I go,
Hmm.
it's the same. It's the craziest phenomenon, but it's perfect. It's great.
Yeah. No, I'm driving now, and my drives are a lot longer than that.
Yeah. See, it's like the perfect balance, right? Because our freeway is like 65, and it's like it's a good balance. It's like nothing's too far. Like I know where like there's multiple Walmarts, multiple Targets, there's multiple grocery stores. They're all over the place. Plenty of things. Not a lot to go into, honestly, but you know, wherever I need to go, if I'm like if I'm in one city, I'm like, okay, let me see where the nearest Safeway is so I can pick up something for dinner, right? Albertsons or what Kroger or whatever. Like 10 minutes from one. Great. Boom. How far am I from home? 12 minutes. Boom. Back home. Like it's nothing
Mm.
feels inconvenient. Nothing feels inconvenient or out of the way kind of thing. So
Not at all, and sometimes that's a bad thing because we forfeit growing when we take life
yeah,
too easy.
that's
What's that
true.
saying? The saying was hard times build strong men, and strong men build good times, and good times build weak men, and weak men make
Yep.
hard times.
Yep. And the cycle
It's a
repeats over
vicious
again. And
cycle.
that's where we're at in the cycle too, right? Like we've gotten to that point to where it's like we have a lot of weak men, we have a lot of weak leaders, right? And it's important, like for us, like you work with youth in your church, and I also work with the youth in my church as well, and whatnot. And so it's so important, like as youth leaders, like especially with the boys, like to make sure that they're learning. Like we come into like our room for like our council time that I teach, and the girls try to move the tables up. I'm like, no, 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 no. Girls sit, boys move the tables. They're like, why? I'm like, move the tables. Or now they're trained really good to where one of the female leaders will like leave her stuff and she'll go and do stuff. So when we come in there, her stuff's on the table. They'll like look around for her and be like, where is she? Like, where can I take her stuff? Kind of thing. It's like they don't even think about it. They just come and grab it and want to do it for her.
Hmm.
After I was like, help her, help take that stuff, do it. And yeah, no, and I sometimes if the boys are being real rowdy, I'll make them clean up the girls' chairs from the half-hour block before, and I'm like, guys, just clean up their chairs. And the girls like, we can do it. I'm like, that's not the point. I'm trying to teach them something here, okay? So shh,
Yeah.
quiet. There's a
That's good.
purpose.
Yeah, I know it's fun trying to help the youth because you're going through that transition of being what like a boy is and being cuddled by their mother and
Hmm.
transitioning into becoming a man. And that's I don't know, as a man, it's one of the hardest transition to go from
Absolutely.
being loved unconditionally to now only people caring about what you can provide.
Yeah. No, it's a big transition, right? And it's a hard transition for our boys too, as they go from like you said, being a boy and having to transition to like young manhood to where they don't get babied as much. They don't get coddled as much. And they get, the shit end of the stick, for lack of better terms, right? Like they start to get looked at differently. They start to have these expectations come on them that they didn't ask for them, but now they have to meet them, right? They have to
Yeah.
meet to be an example, to lead from the front, and to be a voice, and to protect each other, and to be well mannered and temperament and everything like that. Like there's a lot of expectations on our boys, a lot.
Oh yeah, and it's just gets even harder when they first enter the workforce as well. They don't get treated like little boys in the workforce at all. They
No,
get treated straight
no,
like you're a man now, and that's how we're going to deal with you.
yeah, yeah. There's very little grace, right? There's very little grace. There's very little leeway. There's very little forgiveness. It's pretty much you get a chance, and if you don't do the chance and you don't do it well, then guess what? Bad news bears. You're done. You're gone. You're out. Kind of thing. It's very unforgiving out there in the real world. But you know how how can, from your perspective, how can we teach our young men and our boys, to balance those things between being a provider, between being a spiritual leader, and then hopefully becoming a husband and a father? How can we teach them early to start being able to balance those things?
So the number one thing is to work on your foundation, and the best foundation is following Jesus Christ. Because without that, everything's just going to fall apart. Like it says, where it's like, oh, we gotta build our house upon the rock, not upon the sand, because the sand is just going to tear away. So you got to have that rock, that solid foundation. And as you start learning those things, and you have your foundation, you start to realize who you are. You start to create an identity for yourself, and you start to work towards those things who you essentially were created to be. But you can't find out who you are unless you have that solid foundation.
Yeah, that foundation is everything, right? I know we keep mentioning that. We've mentioned it over and over and over again. But especially for our boys, it is so important to teach them to have a good foundation. The world as it is out to get our kids, especially here in Washington State. We have some crazy bonkers banana things going on in our state that are just absolutely trying to take parents away from the kids and make the state as a co-parent with families, which is bonkers. Not how it's supposed to be. Not how it should be. And it's gonna fail. Absolutely, it's gonna fail. I know it's gonna fail because that's what's right. People on both sides of the aisle will see it and be like, "Hey, this isn't. No, we're not doing this. We've definitely gotten to that place in our country now to where more people are willing to speak up and be like, that doesn't really make sense. I know I'm on this side and I know this is where I align, but this and it's on both sides. It's not just Republican, it's not just Democrat. Both sides will kind of question a lot of things and be like, that just doesn't align. That just doesn't that's a little bit too much. It's a little bit too far. You're taking a little bit too far there, Chuck. Just step down, but
Yeah,
yeah.
one of the things that I heard when I was younger that I like to think about is the only way for evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing. Unfortunately, I think we've been doing nothing for way too long, and that's why there's just so much evil that's been coming into our lives. And really, instead of like sitting back and hoping that it's going to change, like people need to like step up and start taking these leaps of faith and start fighting back against the system. Otherwise, it's going to prevail. And we need more good men out there, more solid foundational men, which are I'm noticing are very hard to come by nowadays.
I wouldn't even say that they're hard to come by, right? It's just they've been silent so hard, right? And it's not even especially in North America, right? Like men have been absolutely silent. Like absolutely the saying if you're damned if you do, damned if you don't is 100% true today more than ever. If a man
Mm,
does provide, he's too masculine. If he doesn't provide, he's not masculine enough. If he speaks his mind freely, he's toxic. If he doesn't, then he's not in touch with his feelings, right? Or if he does this, he's not this. If he does this, he's not this. And it's always those two things, right? And then of course you have I'll probably get canceled for saying this, but like you have the whole Me Too movement and
yeah,
everything like that to where now just out of whim, like a woman can say, "Oh, he he did something. He made me sad one time." And now that's emotional abuse. Okay, buddy, you're done. You're cooked. You're out of here. It's just like bonker. Like men have been so silent. So like if there is a good man, like, they'll just kinda be quiet and wait in the wings until they actually find a good, decent woman of value, and then those 2 will live a very quiet, peaceful, happy life together, right? They will live a very quiet, peaceful life, more than likely, that's my assumption. Uh, but, that's why a lot of times that's why, a lot of good men, a lot of good boys, good young men, 16 to 19 years old, I would say, kinda look and see, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna watch back from the sidelines." Like, girls kinda suck. None of them are good, right? Like, there's not a lot like, we have just as much as we push our sons to raise good we have to raise good sons, we also have to raise good daughters, right? Like, I have 2 girls, and it's absolutely important that I raise 2 girls that are going to have high standards, that are gonna attract the kinda man that they absolutely should and have and deserve in their lives, versus one that's just kind of out there and kinda crazy and all over the place and isn't gonna be, the right one for them up to standards that they should have. So it's important that we raise daughters the same, right? Like we have to have the expectations across the board.
with daughters, it's a little different. Like I got 3 daughters myself, and I was talking to a buddy of mine who he's got 3 daughters who are a lot older than mine, and I'm just like, man, I'm so worried about when my girls become like teenagers. Like I don't know what's going to happen. And what he said to me is like, all you have to do is be a good father. Show them what a real man is supposed to be like, and they're going to find someone who's going to kind of emulate who you are, and who's going to
Absolutely.
treat them how you treat them. And so the best course of action is not to try to like tell them what a good man's like, but to actually like show them through your own qualities, which it's also a really, really hard standard on us where we have to like now no longer it's like we can't say do as I say, not as I do. We actually have to go and do the things so that we could be proper examples for them.
Absolutely. No, I'm just looking up here something. So when I started this fitness challenge, I posted that I have a really hard time eating veggies. And my trainer, he said something super impactful that's just like sticking with me every single day. Because I typically I'll supplement my veggies, I'll eat greens, or I'll take greens powder and things like that. But he made a couple good points. His first was let's see, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh my gosh, we post so much in this group, things get lost. Because we're all supporting each other and we're all out there and rawing each other up and hyping each other up. Here it is. Uh, let's see. He said first, mindset and goals, right? First, it was pretty practical. Veggies keep you full, packed with fiber and nutrients. They help slow down digestion. They help with bloating and inflammation. I stay lean if I eat veggies. I get fat if I don't. So he's like, which one do you want? And then the second thing he said is the example that I set. Our children follow exactly what they see. So if they see their parents eating veggies, they'll eat veggies. If they see their parents exercising, they'll exercise. They'll do what's important to us. If they see us going to church and taking time for our faith, they'll do the same, right? Our daughters will marry a man who closely emulates our physical, mental, and emotional qualities. And then followed with the last question, what example do I want them to see? Kind of thing. Like, well,
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's amazing because like being a father, I heard this from a missionary one time where he says that people get their identity in their heavenly father, like in their father, and so how they view their heavenly father is how they view their earthly father. And so if they had a dad who was like never there, they think God is absent from them. If they have a dad who is very demanding, then they think God is very demanding. And then I like to like flip it and I'm like, "Oh wow, how my kids are going to view Jesus is how I emulate Jesus to them." And so my goal is to be as much like Jesus as I possibly can so that I could give them the proper way to view God and to view a spouse and to view how my boy should be. And it's like a huge responsibility that men have to take place. And just to like think about it, like I have to essentially be Jesus to my children. And that's not an easy ask.
no, we're asked a lot, right? But we gotta just think like you gotta think like think of Joseph, right? Think of Joseph when he was literally raising the savior of the world. Imagine the expectations and the pressure he felt, right? We can't even compare ourselves to like what Joseph felt because we have it so easy in comparison. We're not raising Jesus.
No.
Luckily, we're raising our kids. So at least rest assured in that you're not raising Jesus. So take that, take that however you want to take it. But you're right. Like we have to set an example and we have to emulate these things and for our boys and for our girls in all these different ways, shapes, and forms of what we want them to be. What identity do we want them to have? How do we want them to view themselves? How do we want them to view church? How do we want them to view themselves? How do we want them to view relationships? How do we want them to view food and health and everything like that? Those are all things we have to think about as parents, not even just dads. Dads especially are key in this process. That's a big part of being a dad is just the example. But moms and dads alike both have to think of these things. So
Yes. Funny one thing right now is we're battling screens right now in the family home. I like my fair share of video games and I play a little bit too much. And so
hey,
we kind of stopped it to be only on Fridays for the kids.
nice.
And then the kids, my wife would be like, "Nope, it's no screens today. It's not Friday." And then it always come up to her. But daddy's on the screen.
Yep.
He's on his phone. And it's like,
No,
right?
don't
Even
don't
though
bring me into this. Don't. We are not the same. We are not the same. You are small. I am big.
yeah, but it's funny. And then my kids, they'll see me like I'll go and watch some like a YouTube short, and then they're like, "What are you
Mhm.
doing on the phone? It's on the computer. It's not Friday." And I'm like, "Ah, you're right." But like my wife, she'll go and have like a nap with the baby, and she'll be on her phone doom scrolling, but no one mentions it about her. And
Oh, no
it's
one
like,
mentions
wait,
about mom, of course. That's when you gotta no, you'll get in trouble if you do that. You'll be like, "Well, your
yeah,
mom, when she was feeding Nick tech napping the baby, was on her phone too, so don't just bring me into this." Yeah, you may not live to
yeah.
see tomorrow if you don't do that.
No,
Don't
no,
do that.
I won't.
Don't, don't.
To be fair, she's got nothing else to do because she's snuggling the baby, and she's like, I can't do anything else. Like, I'd rather do other stuff. Yeah, but it's funny how they just like, I don't know. I feel like they know us so well, and they point at our weak points, and they're like, why are you like this? And it's like, I'm working on it. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not perfect.
You're not perfect either. Back off.
Yeah.
Back
Well,
off.
for them, they're like, I know I'm not perfect, but you're dad. You've been dad all my life. Like, you should know this by now.
Right? It's like, no, sorry. I've only been dad for 8 years,
Yeah, exactly.
and there's a lot more of you than there are of me at this point. So I've only been your dad for this many years. I've only been your dad. I've only been your dad. I've only been your dad for this long. So, I'm learning. You've only been you for this long. How come you don't know that? Flip the
Yeah.
script back on them a little bit. But we're in the dad zone. So I finally found a name for this segment. I've been doing it for forever, but I finally named it the dad zone and made so much sense. So there's a new fourth question that you made me think of here while we're talking today. So now the dad zone has 4 questions. So thank you for your contribution there. First question here in the dad zone is: does pineapple belong on pizza?
Like in general or personally?
Like both.
Okay, I think people teach their own. Everyone has different tastes, and it's nice that everyone is different. And if everyone was the same, then life would be boring. So because people have different toppings choice, I think people should put what they want on their pizza. Me, I love ham and pineapple. It's my
Oh,
favorite.
both those. That first answer was spoken like a true Canadian, like the most stereotypical Canadian ever. Like, oh, if they want to do it, that's what they want to do, and that's what they're about, and stuff like that. So that was perfect. No, the answer is no. Straight up across the board, no matter the interpretation, the answer is no.
No,
We can be boring. We can be boring. That's fine when it comes to
yeah,
this topic. That's my
you
opinion, though.
you what you got to try. My favorite is actually is pineapple, chicken, and green pepper
No,
pizza. Oh, you should try it. It's the
no,
best.
I'm not. I'm not putting pineapple on a pizza anytime soon. I talked to this actually. The episode that comes out before yours is I did it with this Italian author. Her family has a generational pizza shop in Western Philadelphia, and the answer may surprise you. Let's just say I am right and you are wrong. Anyways, if you could have a dinner party with 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be?
Dinner party with 3 people. I wish I knew this question beforehand so I could think about it.
That's part of the fun of it for me, is that there's
Yeah,
no preparation for this. The dad zone. The dad zone is you just gotta enter in.
yeah. So number one would be definitely to have Jesus at the table,
Okay,
and
love it.
probably Elijah,
Ooh, I
and
like.
then I would like to have my great great grandfather, who I've never met, to kind of talk about my family line. I think his name was Hobart, and that's pretty much all I know about him. And I
Hobart,
think
I
those are
love
the
that.
3 people.
Let's go. Hobart, Elijah, and Jesus. Let's go. Love that table. What is your guilty pleasure, food or song?
My guilty pleasure might be pineapple on pizza.
Huh?
No, what would food choice? Oh, my guilty pleasure would be bubble tea. That's probably the one thing that's hard for me to say no to, and really puts a dent on our finances.
Your wife looks over the bank account and she's like, bubble, bubble.
No, no. The thing is, like, I don't drink, and I don't smoke, and I don't know
Yeah.
why I don't have more money than those people. And then I look, and my wife
Oh
and
my
I
god.
have bubble tea like all the time, and it's like, oh, that's
You
where.
also have probably 4 more kids than most of those people.
Well, it's hard too because they like it too. So now I'm buying like 3, and they're fighting over it because they don't want to share.
Oh
And I'm
my
like, oh,
goodness.
you guys, okay, here, take mine.
This is what the worst as they get to these ages. Like now my 7-year-old, she no longer eats a kid's meal. She actually gets like a whole meal now.
Yeah, yeah, my boys like that too. But I think Pokemon cards were out this last week, so they're like, I gotta go for the Happy Meal.
Oh yeah, no, they settle for less to get the cards. No, but no, I'm just like, this is so annoying. Like, why am I getting you a whole portion and you eat it? Like, you're supposed to be tiny. Like, you're not supposed to be able to eat this much food. Or it's like they want a whole they want instead of like small, now they're getting a medium, and I'm like, that's so expensive.
Oh man, next it's a large, 2
Yeah,
sandwiches. No, stop.
yeah. No, it's like I got my daughter like this $7 meal deal from McDonald's the other night, and it was like a bacon double. It was like the McDouble with bacon, a small fry, and a small drink, and a 4-piece nugget. She chowed that whole meal.
Wow.
She even opened the burger. She goes, "Whoa, this is big." Yep, ate it, no problem. Just went for it. I was just like, "Jeez, kid, come on, my wallet, my finances."
Yeah, I know. That's why we got to get these podcasts going for you so you can feed your kids.
Yeah. Feed my kids fun. So, but no, last question in the dad zone here, or second to last question in the dad zone, actually. What is one piece of bad dad advice? So, what is like the worst piece of advice that you've ever been given as a dad, or worst piece of advice that you maybe have given since being a dad to another dad?
The worst piece of advice.
Or you can just make one up.
Oh man, you're really putting me on the spot.
But you haven't even heard the last question yet.
I think I don't know. What would be the worst piece of advice? I think the worst piece of advice is like just spanking your kids. Like, cause a lot of the times when we are in that mode, it's now a situation of us being angry about it, and they're just this innocent little kid, and we're using like full force because we're essentially spanking them harder because we're angry. And so like that one I'm not a big fan on, but I'm also a fan of like discipline, taking things away. But yeah, probably just hitting in general because they're little and I don't need to be hitting a little kid when I'm a full grown adult.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I like it. I like it. You're the first person I ever used that had that question for. So, thanks for being the guinea pig there in the new addition to the dad zone. Very last
No
question of the
problem.
dad zone here, and last question of the podcast. What is one piece of advice that you would offer to a young dad? Let's say he's 18 to 22 years old who just had his first kid. What is one piece of advice that you would offer to him?
My one piece of advice that I offer to everybody is pick and choose the advice that people give to you. You know your child the best, and your child is slightly different than everyone else's kid. And so just because some piece of advice works for someone else doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. So just go out there, talk to as many people, and have it as a buffet. You don't like pineapples, don't take the pineapples. You like the pepperoni, go for it. Like,
Yes, never take the pineapple pizza ever, never. But no, I get what you're saying here. I love that analogy too. That's such a cool analogy. Like treat it as like a buffet and take advice from everybody, yet no one at the same time.
yeah,
And take
exactly.
pieces that work, right? That's just adding more things to your tool bag, right? Adding more pieces to the suggestion box that okay, maybe that thing will work, or because the more you know the better. Maybe something does work. And if it doesn't work, throw it out. Go get more advice. Go back for seconds, thirds, fourths, however much you can fit, and just keep going back. There's an endless well of knowledge out there. Dad to dad, there's plenty of other things you can learn.
Yeah, and everyone's slightly different. So some stuff just works for others better than they
And
do for.
yeah, and maybe that a solution for someone with a different kid, maybe that's the solution that you need for your kid, because maybe your kid's different in that way too, or maybe they're not, but that was just like whatever they're doing, my kid's not like that, but what they're doing worked for my kid, right? And so sometimes
But
it
even with like my 4 children, I noticed that like all of them have their different personalities. They're very different, like vastly different. And I have to treat them fairly, but also treat them like what works best for them. So like my boy, like he's like brain smart and he's like in a grade ahead and he could be essentially like 2 grades ahead. He's almost like Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory. But then my daughter is the opposite, but she's like she's an artist and she's drawing and my boy can't do that, so I'm like, okay, let's encourage the art. You're not bad because you're learning how to read a little bit later, but look at your brother, he can't draw yet, right? Everyone's different.
yeah, no, exactly. And I think we got to celebrate those differences and you know be okay with that. Our kids are going to be
Yeah.
different, and that's okay. Everyone learns at different paces. Everyone's good at different things,
Did you
and
ever see that meme, the we got to celebrate our differences?
uh-uh.
Don't look it up.
Oh, I was about to screen share it. Uh,
Maybe off camera. That's what I was thinking.
I'm gonna see. I'm gonna look it up right quick, and then I'll close this. I promise. Oh, is it the one with the people with the funny hats?
Yeah, I think so. They have different nationalities. It was like people I think in the 70s trying to bring cultural awareness, and they just did a horrible job with it. It's just hilarious.
Yeah, this looks like. Oh, yeah, this is bad. This is so bad. I see the meme now, and this is really bad because I see the meme, and yeah, this is so bad. This is great though.
Sorry,
Anyway, all right. No, you're great. I'm not gonna screen
you can
share
edit
what I
that
just
out
saw.
if you want.
No, I'm not gonna edit that out. Actually, Riverside has this cool new feature that'll probably edit it out, but it has like this cut the fluff feature now in the post editor, the AI editor, where it'll go through and it'll find like moments like those. I was like, that's not really pertinent. Maybe cut that. And so we'll see. But it's really cool. It's a cool feature. I'm like, whoa, that saves me all the time. I don't have to edit it all. I just have to click some buttons and it's done for me. I love that.
Oh, that's nice.
Anyway,
I should.
you got to get on Riverside, man. If anyone starts a podcast, if anyone's listening to this, thinking about starting a podcast, message me. I will hook you up with Riverside. I will show you how to use it. I will show you all the things you can do with it, how easy it is, how simple it is, and you can literally get a podcast up and going in an hour and whatnot. And I just found this cool new tool called Pod Crew AI that's really unique for podcasters and it's really expanding. So big shout out to Pod Crew AI. And then also big shout out here at the end to Triad Math, today's sponsor of the podcast. Triad Math is revolutionizing math education for all post-secondary students. So if you have a student that is 6th grade through 12th grade that loves math, or maybe is struggling with math, or maybe just says like, I hate math, I'm never doing it again, this is impractical, it doesn't make sense. We'll let Triad Math try to come and change that for you. Triad Math will change the game for you. You can start as low as $9 per month and get access to, for 1 month, with that $9, you get access to Mastering the Scientific Calculator. You'll get access to Triad Math Tribe. You'll get access to all 6 tiers of the Triad Math program. If you dedicate a ton of hours, about 60 to 80 hours in that first month, you can master all 6 tiers of the practical math, from practical algebra, geometry, trigonometry, calculus, and a couple other tiers as well in there. In 36 lessons, about 36 to 80 hours, at your own pace. So it's a great tool, Triad Math. If anyone is interested, they hear this episode and you're interested in joining the Triad Math Army, please let me know. The Triad Math Army is a little bit different tier than the Triad Math Tribe in that $9 offer, but there are some gift spots that I've been gifted and granted to share with my audience and whatnot. So please message me if you want to be one of those 10 that I can share this gift with. That gift includes a lifetime membership to the Triad Math Army, which will then allow you to get perks like, becoming an affiliate and selling the program to others. So please reach out. Let me know if that's something you're interested in. But for Robby here, enough about my sponsors, and today's podcast are great. People can find your books, Robby, at RobbieCarlson.com. That's RobbieCarlson.com. And Robby, thank you for being here today. Your story is inspiring. I know a lot of dads out there are going to take something valuable from this conversation. If nothing else, maybe a couple good concrete related jokes. But nonetheless, something valuable from all of this. There's plenty of great wisdom and nuggets in here that we left for you today. So to all of our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another dad who needs to hear it. Because I guarantee when we were breaking down faith for a half hour there's something in there for everybody that they need to hear. Someone that needs to hear that stuff. So please share it with someone that you feel that you need to share it with. And until next time, keep being present, engaged, and intentional. And remember, you are worthy, you are loved, and you are enough. See you next time right here on the Young Dad Podcast.